Minute past the hour developing this morning. No word on whether former UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones will return to the ring, but he will avoid jail time after cutting a deal with prosecutors over a hit-and-run crash. It happened last April when he crashed into a car in southeast Albuquerque, hurting a pregnant woman before taking off. He left marijuana behind in the car, authorities say. In court yesterday, Jones admitted his mistake, pleading guilty to a fourth-degree felony of leaving the scene of an accident.
I am here to accept full responsibility for what happened, for my actions, and I'm just really hoping that you guys can give me an opportunity to redeem myself.
Under his plea deal, the felony is erased from his record if Jones keeps his nose clean for the next year and a half. Also part of his probation, Jones will have to make appearances in front of kids, explaining his mistake and using it as a life lesson.
Move on to this now. New this morning, authorities in the state of Georgia have executed the only woman on death row despite last-minute pleas to spare her life. Attorneys for Kelly Gissendaner filed a series of appeals Tuesday night. Supporters prayed outside the Georgia prison, and her daughter was among those who fought to save her from execution. But she was executed just after midnight. Gissendaner was sentenced to death back in 1998 for plotting the murder of her husband. She's the first woman put to death in Georgia in 70 years.
Happening now, an intense manhunt is underway in Louisiana for an inmate accidentally released from prison. Benjul Johnson was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to serve 35 years. During a transfer, a corrections official says the person processing Johnson's paperwork didn't notice that he still had time to serve. They're blaming missing paperwork. The department says they're looking for ways to improve communications between the jail and courts so it doesn't happen again.
Turn out to news closer to home. It's 89,000 acres of pristine wilderness. The Valles Caldera Trust was created through a piece of legislation passed in 2000. Now the coveted piece of public land is changing hands, beginning tomorrow, that is. The National Park Service will take over. News 13's Catherine Mazzone sat down with the incoming superintendent to see what will change with the new management.
My first hope is to make this a seamless transition for the public.
Valles Caldera's new superintendent, Jorge Silva Benuelos, is talking about the National Preserve's switch from a trust to a national park. He says he hopes these hats are the only change people see when they visit the caldera under National Park Service management. But if you're a regular to the area, you'll probably notice a few differences, starting with cost. In seasons past, a visit to the trust could hit your wallet hard.
It was somewhat of an a la carte system where every activity was $10 per person per day.
Now, Silva Benuelos says a family can get into the caldera with just a $20 vehicle fee, good for up to 7 days. But what about one of the Valles Caldera's biggest draws? Silva Benuelos says there's good news for those looking to hunt and fish in these public lands.
Fees will be going down for hunters. Fishing is somewhat similar. We're also going to be expanding from 2 streams to 4 streams where you can go trout fishing.
While he was a strong supporter of the preserve before he took over as superintendent,
I absolutely fell in love with it.
Silva Benuelos says he only learned of the state's beloved resource within the last decade.
Growing up, I never knew it even existed.
And he says he doesn't want that to happen to other New Mexicans. It's why he pushed for more public access, opening the caldera to 24 backcountry vehicles a day.
There's no more, jumping the fence or sneaking in. Everybody's welcome to come.
But Silva Benuelos isn't stopping there. He says he's anxious to open the caldera even more, but it's going to take some work.
One of our big challenges is infrastructure.
Catherine Mazzone, KRQE News 13.
Now, Silva Benuelos says infrastructure includes narrow, unimproved dirt roads. He says there's also need for more parking areas, toilet facilities, and trail expansion. On October 10th, Secretary of the Interior, Sally Jewell, will be in New Mexico to help dedicate the Valles Caldera as one of the country's newest national parks.
6:06 this morning. Mayans are in New Mexico from Guatemala this morning. They're visiting various pueblos across the state, and one of their stops is Isleta Elementary School. The group of 15 is learning about the new language program. They're recording the similarities that they find in the 2 languages so that they can trace it back to their civilization.
The city is looking to improve a dangerous stretch of road in Albuquerque that you might drive on this morning. For years, people and businesses along Rio Grande Boulevard have complained about speeding, traffic, and pedestrian safety. Sky News 13 got these glimpses during rush hour yesterday evening, showing just what drivers are faced with. The city council is paying a consulting firm to study ways to improve Rio Grande from I-40 all the way to the country club neighborhood. Ideas include wider sidewalks, even some bike lanes. To see the full plan, go to our KRQE News app.
Some parents are concerned right now about what they call a safety hazard at a new Albuquerque park. They say that kids could get hurt playing in two drainage pipes just feet away from Sierra Sunset Park on 98th and Gibson. They say the pipes should be closed so that kids don't explore inside them.
A gentleman approached us and told us that the culverts were open and that two boys had gone in. One ended up at Walgreens on 98th and Gibson, which is about at least 5 miles away.
The city says it's looking into putting grates on the entrances to close them off.
This morning, some drivers in Oklahoma have quite the story to tell. Take a look at your TV screens. A truck carrying a whole lot of bees overturned. A video shows a police patrol car got covered in the flying insects. How many bees are we talking about? Millions of honeybees were thought to have been in the crates. It caused a big backup as well, as traffic could be seen at a standstill for miles as beekeepers cleaned up the spilled crates, and they also tried to gather up all the bees. No word on if anyone was hurt in the rollover or stung by any bees, but you have to be careful whenever you're out on the roads these days.
Nice. You sure do. Don't get stung. Yeah, I don't know what I would do. You'd kind of be tempted to open the door and run, but I wonder what attracted that many bees to that car.
I don't know. Maybe something sweet.
Yeah, Kristen, first this morning, one man is dead after a shooting in southeast Albuquerque.
Yeah, now Albuquerque police are trying to figure out what happened and why. News 13's Catherine Mazzone is here with the very latest. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Police say it happened at about 8 o'clock last night at Central and Western Skies. They tell News 13 they received several calls about someone who had been shot at a 7-Eleven there.
As officers arrived on scene, they found one male subject who appeared to be deceased from his gunshot wounds. AFD personnel arrived on scene and also determined that the individual was beyond help.
Police say that means they didn't take the man to the hospital, and the call was made a full violent crimes call-up. This is video we shot last night. APD says they have a tentative ID for the victim, who they say is about 25 years old, but they still have to notify next of kin. They tell us the suspect is a black man about the same age, 25. Police say they're getting conflicting information, though, about the getaway car, so they're not releasing that information just yet. They're also not clear about motive.
Don't know if it was an existing beef between the two. Don't know if it was a drug deal gone bad, a robbery gone bad. At this point, I just don't know.
Now, police do say that the man was shot in the upper body. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Catherine. APD will be interviewing at least 6 witnesses during this investigation.
Move on to this. We did some checking at a former daycare worker accused of abusing a baby, which led to that daycare being shut down, is out of jail this morning. Police say 40-year-old Adianis Armas Camacho was caught on video shaking a baby violently. She worked at the Eastern Child Development Center. CYFD Cabinet Secretary Monique Jacobson says what she witnessed in a few days of surveillance video is enough to pull the daycare's license while the agency begins an in-depth investigation. State investigators say this apparently wasn't the first time that Camacho abused a baby at work.
We saw multiple videos of multiple incidents in an infant baby room, and my reaction was horror.
Some parents want the daycare to reopen. CYFD says they're working to accommodate parents to find other daycares. Still, some parents say the change is adversely affecting their kids and not working out so smoothly. CYFD did not say when the facility may reopen, citing the investigation.
Turn out to this new video this morning shows a suspected car thief in action. APD says this is not his first time either. Police say this guy right here is 25-year-old Christopher Dominguez behind the wheel of an APD bait car on Monday. They say he spotted the car near Manal and Eubank and decided to take it. In the video, you can see him tear apart the steering column to start it and take off. Detectives were able to track the car to Target in the Uptown Shopping Center. That's when Dominguez bailed.
Police, get on the ground right now!
Police were able to get him on the ground just as he tried crossing over Louisiana. Dominguez was also arrested a month ago for stealing another car. He was able to get out of jail on that charge back in June. We reported he had been arrested for car theft 3 times in 3 months.
Albuquerque's mayor has until Friday now to veto a decision to reduce pot penalties in the city. The council voted last week on 2 marijuana measures. One would make possession less than an ounce a civil offense with a $25 fine. They also passed a resolution stating going after simple marijuana possession should be the city's lowest priority. The mayor's office says he plans to veto both measures because they're contrary to state and federal law.
New this morning, senior citizens will be able to get high dose of versions of the flu shot today. Pharmacists will be out at the Minute Clinic at CVS today in Rio Rancho. That starts at 8:30 this morning. They will be there until 7:30 tonight, so you have plenty of time. Providers are also offering regular dose flu shots to anyone who may need one.
Happening today, attorneys for the city of Bloomfield are expected in federal court this morning, arguing they want to keep the city's 10 Commandments monument. Back in 2012, the ACLU helped a group of Wiccans sue over the 6-foot-tall monument that sits in front of City Hall. They won that suit when a judge ruled the monument violates a constitutional ban on using public property to support specific religion. The city is now appealing the 2014 decision. Today, attorneys for the city are expected in Denver to argue the monument is legal because it was privately funded.
New this morning, an appeals court has ruled the NFL's Deflategate appeal will be heard early next year. The NFL is appealing a federal judge's decision to throw out New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady's 4-game suspension. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says Brady was involved with an alleged plot to deflate footballs ahead of last year's AFC Championship game. The appeal could be heard as soon as the first week of February 2016, but it could end up being later than that.
6:36, let's turn to a live look in Washington, D.C. today, where the deadline to avoid a federal government shutdown is coming up today. But some analysts say the potential for a shutdown is lessening. By the end of the day, it's expected both houses of Congress will pass a resolution to continue funding the government for at least a few months. There was doubt that Republicans would pass the budget after they threatened to oust House Speaker John Boehner because he moved forward a controversial spending bill. The bill includes federal dollars for Planned Parenthood.
Move on to this developing story now. This morning, CNN reports Vatican officials are not confirming or denying that the Pope met with Kentucky clerk Kim Davis while he was in the U.S. Kim Davis's attorneys claim it did happen.
The fact that he met with Kim Davis sends a message that he is someone who stands with those individuals who are standing on their religious convictions.
That was attorney Matt Staver. He claims that despite the pontiff's full schedule, he did meet with Kim Davis and her husband in Washington and told her to, quote, stay strong. Davis spent 5 days in jail for refusing a court order to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples.
New details on this Wednesday morning, days after the city of Albuquerque announced changes on how animal shelters deal with dangerous dogs. The director of animal welfare may have crossed the line again. According to memos obtained by News 13, a dog named Jules bit a worker's wrist on Thursday. After she tried to bite another staffer, a supervisor put the dog on a suggested list to be put down, but Director Barbara Bruin recommended training instead. The next day, Jules bit another worker. A recent Inspector General investigation found that Bruin has a history of doing this. One dog she took off the list to be euthanized later killed another dog. It sparked a new city policy signed Friday that says Bruin is not allowed to overturn decisions from behavioral experts or pull dogs from those lists.
Per our new standard operating procedures, she violated that procedure. From our eyes, she is too involved in this case. Not that she made a wrong decision, but it shouldn't be her making that decision.
As part of the changes at Animal Welfare, the department is getting 4 new animal behaviorists. There's also now a team of 3 people making decisions on euthanasia. Jules will likely be transferred to a training program.
New this morning, some students at a California high school are defending a football coach that is seen shoving a student on surveillance video. Coach DeCarlos Anderson is seen telling the student to sit down. When the student gets up and screams in his face, that's when they wrestle over several rows of seats. Right there, you can see it on your TV screen. Before students urge the coach to finally calm down. Students say the coach and football player have made up. They call Coach Carlos a father figure and a mentor. The coach has been suspended with pay, but it's not clear for how long. So once again, they are defending him this morning. Catnip isn't cutting it anymore for